Perfect. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon. We know testing season is coming up, so we definitely appreciate everybody taking the time out of their busy schedules to
Recording in
come.
progress.
For those who don't know me, my name is Maurice, and I'm the founder and executive director of Virtutum Populo, which is a student-led nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting civic engagement and community service among youth, predominantly for now in Miami-Dade County. And we do these monthly meetings once a month to continue to bring amazing guest speakers, and I'll introduce today's in a minute. He's awesome. And basically every single month we bring out someone new to talk about a new subject. In the past, we've had the youngest mayor in the United States join us to talk about civic engagement. And we've had other incredible speakers. We had someone join us from Atlanta, and today's guest is a little bit more local. And today's subject is going to be the importance of mental health. And before we get into that, I'm just going to give you guys a few of the updates of what Virtutum Populo has been doing. This is the agenda for today's meeting. I'm going to give a quick few updates of what Virtutum Populo has been up to, and then we'll get into Pedro's presentation. So updates, let me see. And this PowerPoint, by the way, was made by one of our program coordinators, Lucia, who is part of our team all the way from Spain. So it's probably a little late for her, and that's why she's not here, but I just wanted to give her props for all the work she does. But let's see, this is what we've been up to. The Civic Action Podcast, which is a podcast that we've been working on, has been active. We just released our second episode last week. And that was with the superintendent of Miami-Dade County Public Schools, Dr. Jose L. Doltres. And then our first episode was the president of Miami-Dade College North Campus. And we will continue uploading these about once a month. You can check us out on our Instagram, our YouTube, and you can listen to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other platforms where podcasts are available. What else? I also had the opportunity to go to Tallahassee, which is actually where I met Pedro as part of a trip with the Florida Children's Trust, the Children's Trust of Miami-Dade County. And with them, we were able to go to Florida's capital, where I had an opportunity to meet with my legislator, Tom Fabricio, and we're working on an exciting project together to continue to promote civic engagement. So that's something that we've been working on. The events that we have coming up, we have our daddy-daughter dance this Friday. So if any of you who are here have a sibling who's a girl, and you think that they would be interested in going to this event, the tickets are $50 for a dad and a daughter. And that will be this Friday in partnership with the Miami-Dade's Office of Mayor Manny Sid. And this is a fundraiser for Virtutum Populo, so we can continue to promote civic engagement. We also have a gaming event this Saturday. It's a Super Smash Brothers tournament. We're not the ones hosting this, but we're like one of the sponsors and one of the speakers at the event. I'm going to be there to talk about civic engagement, but this is a gaming event on iTech Academy. And then we also have our International Relations Night, which is mostly for high schoolers, which will be on May 23rd at Miami Dade College North Campus, and we'll release more details about that. But if you're a high school student and you think your school will be interested in attending this free International Relations Gala, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll get your high school signed up. Our newsletter comes out this Friday, the last Friday of the month, and we're going to have a lot of more information in there. So if you're not subscribed to the newsletter, I'm going to share the link for that soon. And then also I'm about to send in the chat. This is the sign-in sheet for today's meeting. I'll send it a few times. If you're a high school student, make sure to fill it out so that we can give you community service hours for being here. And if you're not a high school student, if you're in middle school, make sure to sign it out too, so we could tell your teacher that you were here, so you could get credit for that. if you go to Miami Lakes Middle School. But if not, it's good to fill that out so that we know who was here and we can reach out if anything. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker. But before that, here you have access to our social media platforms. So we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. You can also email us at info@virtudeandpopular.net if you want to get more involved. We do incredible things in the community. We did our Civic Knowledge Bowl in March, which was a huge success. And we just work on promoting civic engagement just overall. So if you're interested in partnering, working with us, and joining the team, please don't hesitate to reach out. But I'm going to stop sharing so I could introduce Pedro, and then he will start sharing his presentation. So Pedro and I met, like I said, on the trip to Tallahassee we did with the Children's Trust of Miami-Dade County. He's very passionate about civic engagement as well and about getting youth involved. He's been very active with the Children's Trust Youth Advisory Council, which is an amazing group of young leaders working to help out and promote the well-being of their community. And Pedro now serves as a liaison for them. And he's also very passionate about mental health, and that's where he's focused his advocacy on recently through a project he started called the Mental Health Empowerment. So Pedro, thank you so much for coming. And it's such a pleasure for you to be with us here and to be able to have this discussion with so many incredible students from all over.
Thank you so much for the amazing introduction. And really the pleasure is all mine. You do amazing work, you're the inspiration. So yeah, he pretty much summed it up. My name is Pedro Callender. A little bit information about myself before we get started. I attend Miami Dade College at the Kendall campus, and I'm part of the Honors College where I study psychology, and I intend to minor in education policy, where I will essentially, spread on this message. And then a little bit about my organization, All About Mental Health Empowerment, or All About Me for short. It was founded, or the idea came to me right after the pandemic. We all went through the pandemic, and especially seeing the aftermath of how, being put in quarantine, away from our family, away from our friends, away from the things we love, whether, it's a job or a hobby, that distance, there was obviously an effect on our mental health and a decline on our mental health stability. And before I get started, I just want to say, I want to make this as interactive as possible. Not being in person, I usually do in-person activities with my organization. So if you guys have any questions or any comments throughout the slides, just let me know. So yeah, seeing that after the pandemic, after quarantine, our mental health, there was a rapid decline on our happiness or how we handled work or school. So seeing that, and not just, myself, I went through it, but my peers, family members, all of those around me having conversations about that is what led to me creating the organization. So essentially is what I do is every event or every different meeting, I usually like to talk about different mental health or different things that correlates to our overall happiness. And today will be just the general importance of our mental health. Let's see. So usually I like to start with, what is our mental health? Our mental health is a part of everyone. It's something to definitely look after. It is real and complex. Usually, I know I can attest for Hispanic families or that culture that it's just, oh, they're depressed. What is that? That's crazy. And it sucks hearing that, especially from your family, people that you're supposed to be close to, that's supposed to understand who you are. But that's all right. It's just the current state of the world. But it is something that it's very much real, and it is very, very, very complex. Usually it's put into categories, to understand what it is, to what somebody has, but just how an individual, there's so many layers to you as a person that will extend to, your mental health. stressing the importance of it. It's really important that you take care of yourself, because that will lead to things, how you function at your job, at school, how you are with your friends. And it's something you can change. Usually there are, diseases that it's just it's just part of you, so some diseases or mental state of minds can't be changed because they're just a part of you. So in those cases, it is something that you will have to, learn to understand and continue to grow with it, in a positive manner. But there are some things, like how we're feeling, some stressors that we are able to address and change in turn. And just like what it is, some things that it is not. Some crazy family members I mentioned a sign of weakness. Um, just because you're going through something does not mean you're weak. It's just you're human. A lot of us forget that before anything else, before our race, before nationality, we are all human. And being human means that, you're gonna go through these things. So like that, it's not all in your head. It's not something that you can just snap out of. It usually takes time, progress, everybody, how we mentioned, it's complex and it's real. Everybody has their own, process of understanding what they have and how to go through it in their own lives. It is not something you can just snap out of. It's not always a negative thing. While um, it can affect your life in a negative way. You can choose to, like, while I am going through something that, is causing me to stress or is causing my social life or schoolwork to go down, you are able to, again, work at it, and move forward. And it is nothing to be ashamed of. A lot of times, even myself, I went through this where I usually don't want to stand out or don't want to, I want to fit in with the rest. Oh, I don't see everybody else has the same issue as me, so I'm just going to keep it to myself and suppress it. That's not usually a good idea, because it can lead to long-term, side effect or issues. But it's something that you should come to terms with, If it's something you can't change, then understand it. This is who I am, and this is how I'll move forward with it. Through work, you yourself, therapy, maybe sometimes it's medicinal. Some common stressors that can harm our state of mind. It's school, work, our jobs, that pressure of needing to do good, financial stability for some, money, we have cars, houses, housing, food goes into that as well. Family and friends, sometimes, even people that are there to support us, is what's causing us harm. And in those cases, again, it's about addressing the issue. So if it's with a friend, they did something that maybe doesn't really, that stresses you out, doesn't help you, be like, hey, this is going on. Can we work through it? And same thing with family. And again, unexpected situations. Humans, we like control. So anything that's unforeseen can cause stress. But I would also like to mention that usually stress, even a small amount, is healthy. Why do I say it's healthy? I know I put it out as like, oh, it's bad, 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 whatever. But a small amount of stress in our day-to-day lives is a healthy thing, because it shows us, that our continuous growth, even though we are going through something, we're able to get through it. Even though, we're having some issues with friends, with work, with money, we're gonna get up and we're gonna move forward and we're gonna overcome them. So it's, no one usually has a like zero stress life, as amazing as that sounds. There's always a tiny little bit of stress, and that can be used as a pusher to go on. See if there are any questions in the chat. So real, yeah. Poor mental health can lead to feeling weak, not being able to keep up with others. So if it's, exercising, walking, constant feeling of fatigueness, so that's basically being tired all the time, not getting enough sleep. Sleep is very important. A lack of creativity, so if you have homework or job that requires you to be creative, and you don't have the best state of mind, it can be an issue. An inability to generate fast solutions that goes again to the like problem solving, and then poor and unhealthy diets. Well, it's usually good to maintain a balanced diet rather than keto, or those diets where you're completely blocking out a certain type of nutrition from your plate. Well, yes, those help. An ideal diet would be one that is balanced. So there's basically a little bit of a little protein, a little sweet, balanced. Ways to improve our mental health: sleep. I know I mentioned it earlier. It's something that everybody throws around: sleep, sleep, sleep. It is amazing, right? But again, with sleep is understanding the balance, making sure that you get to recommended 8 to 10 hours usually of sleep. What does this mean? That managing yourself. At the end of the day, that's what this presentation is about: how to manage yourself. So in turn, you could, understand what your processes are, what your mental health is, the state, and then moving forward with it. So if you know you're someone that has a lot of work, so you stay up late at night doing work, maybe trying to see your time management, how leave it, prioritize your sleep. And then if it's something in the morning or during the day that you could take some time out to do that work, is good. Also, phones are usually another thing. And I say this because I've also struggled with myself once I realized where, oh, hey, like I say goodnight to everybody, I'm going to sleep. But then I just, stay on my phone for like 1 or 2 hours. It's something real that we all go through. I understand that we don't want to let go, but seeing dreams and sleep, those will definitely outweigh our time on our phone. So if you can't put it down before you go to sleep, then I like to do an alarm. I give myself, after I'm in my bed, I have my phone. If not my book, then if I'm on my phone for whatever reason, I say 30 minutes or an hour. After that alarm goes off, it's put it down and at least pretend to go to sleep till I actually fall asleep, and it actually works with time. Health, keeping track of your health, of the food that's going into your body, and the amount of exercise per week. Usually, the saying you are what you eat is very, very, very true in the terms of, if you have a balanced diet, where you eat fruits and vegetables and meats, things are like rich in nutrition for your body, then that's how you are going to be as a person. You're going to be genetic, you're going to have energy, you're not going to feel tired. Wherein, if you, let's say you could have the balanced diet, but also you eat a lot of junk food. So like snacks, not saying that they're wrong, but eating an excessive amount of them, snacks, sweet juices and things, then we may start to feel tired a lot of the times. Support: a parent, family member, or friends, making sure that you have a trusted person to talk about any issue is essential. Why is it important? Because again, we're humans, and as much as some of us like to say, oh, I'm Mr. Independent, Mr. Independent, I'm strong by myself. Yes, you are. But then also it's good to have at least one person there, just one, that you're able to, let go of whether it's to talk about your day or a problem that you're having with friends, family. Having that one person there can feel really, really nice. I have lots of friends right now. And a quiet place. Usually this is my quiet little space right here. It's a closet that I kind of turned into my study area, where you're away from your phone or any distractions. Why is this important? Because, as the more you stay away from distractions, whether it's phone, friends, whatever it is, family, whereas you by yourself in silence or anything, it allows yourself to stay and connect with, your inner self, your emotions. So let's say you went through an event, You're going to be constantly distracted by friends, family, work that you have to do. Unless you're able to stay in a place by yourself, then those emotions will come back and you'll have to, see them. Like, okay, this is what I went through. How did I feel when I was going through it? How did it make me feel after? And how will I move on forward? Alternate solutions as well to taking care of our mental health. And I am a very, 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 very big advocate for the importance of self-love. Actually, one of the very first events for my organization was about self-love. And essentially with acknowledging that love that we usually put for others, in turn give it to ourselves. So what does this look like? Confiance. You're able to hear your inner child and understand your emotions at a higher level. Management. You're able to, being able to take care of yourself when it comes to not just your emotions, but also your physical health, your body, what the world sees. Boundaries. Once you understand yourself, to prioritize yourself, you're able to put boundaries upon others with yourself and the rest of the world, right? So let's say after some time of getting to know who I am, my state of mind, I know a boundary for myself would be putting a 30-minute alarm on my phone before bed, so I understand that I need to get some sleep. That's a boundary, a promise to myself. And then a boundary with somebody else would be personal space. If, making sure that that's like a boundary or an example of something. And then also a future, building a secure future through taking care of yourself, of your present self. I'm going to touch again on this later on in the slides, but the ideal understanding is that if you take care of yourself, today and tomorrow today, then your future, less 3 months, 5 years, way into the future, should be secured. Let's see the next one. Some results of, of the factors are higher self-esteem. When we trust ourselves, we have a higher self-esteem. We walk with power. Lower anxiety and stress. Finding your values and purpose, what you want to do, and then building resilience. Resilience is essentially, that power that you have within yourself. And then perspectives and attitudes manifest into our reality. So you're going earlier on how, taking care of yourself now in the present will secure your future. This is essentially a way I like to see the world, where if I always have a negative mindset, if I always walk around, well, I hate life, this happened to me because the universe hates me, and so on and so forth, then the next event, let's say it's whatever, the next thing that will happen, I will most likely think or see it in a negative perspective. And we're like, oh, stuck in traffic. Why am I stuck in traffic? I'm trying to get home. I just want to sleep. And then it's the same thing with the opposite, where if you usually walk around with a positive mindset, where I'm stuck in traffic, but this will give me time to listen to music. This happened to me, but it happened for a reason. I'm only gonna grow from now on. And that's another thing I want to mention about humans and relates to our mental health, is that the amazing thing about us is that it's the only thing we have is continuous growth. We cannot, all we do is grow, forward with ourselves. We could always, we can never regress. Let me see. We can never essentially go back. We can only move forward. Today, I am, I am a sum of all of my history. I cannot be worse than I was today. If anything happens, that event, it's going to teach me to be better. So tomorrow I'll be a better man than I was yesterday, and essentially moving forward with that. So because of perspective, I think our perspective defines, usually who we are. There are some principles that I usually like to, principles or feelings I usually like to, categorize or say they're important. So gratitude, always, being thankful for just everything. We're here, we're alive, is defined as the quality of being thankful. Again, readiness to show appreciation for and return to kindness. So just for the simplest thing, um, saying thank you. Thank you that I'm here talking to all of you guys right now. It's a beautiful bunch. Thank you that I'm able to see, they're seeing our life, and then usually seeing the states of the world and the states of others, and only seeing, that we could do better. Um, Joy, it's like happiness, a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. Inspiration, the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. So I put inspiration here because I feel it's something that leads to discovering ourselves. So if there's anything that inspires you, pursue it. If it's with work or with school, if there's a certain subject that really inspires you, you're motivated to go to the next class, do the next thing, pursue it, because it can lead to, maybe your job, what you end up doing, or just something that you really like, that is stress reliever. Peace is freedom from disturbance. And again, this goes to having your hobby or your calm spot, where usually within the external world, it's, again, like for me, it's this closet, where when I'm here, I'm, completely free of disturbance. I'll put my phone away in the other room. My dad is doing something out there. It's just me, my thoughts, and whatever I have in front of me. And that's just a way to control the external world. That will essentially, that action will lead to control of our inner world, where because I am away from disturbances of the external world, my internal world, such as emotions, how we feel, we will be faced with them. We will have nothing but to face them. So if it's something that's really going on, an emotion that's stuck in my heart for a while, I'm gonna address it, understand it, and move on with it. And later on, again, through the presentation, I'll give examples on how to do that. And then wholeness, a state of forming and complete and harmonious a whole or unity. I put this one here because we want to carry ourselves with the fullest of who we are, right? Our full potential. Nothing, like don't hold anything back. Say, I'm Pedro and I like plants, swimming, and I love food. That's something I'm gonna all characteristic traits of myself. I'm gonna wear them on my shoulder. I'm gonna wear them on my chest because it's who I am. Obviously, unless it is something that causes harm to others. If it's not, then full on. Another one would be trust, whether it's trust, with yourself or with those around you. It's a firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. So when we place trust in ourselves through self-love, we're saying, I'm gonna do this. Let's say self-care. In the mornings, I'm gonna apply a certain type of cream on my face because it's taking care of it's taking care of me. And I'm doing this because I trust myself to look better, to feel better, to improve. Or if it's trust with, somebody else, like the support system we mentioned earlier. Having that someone that you trust, that you're able to tell, whether it's not just your secrets, but your day-to-day, like, hey, this happened to me today. I trust you to be there for me, essentially. And that's something that grows with time. Knowingness. So knowingness is defined as awareness, cognizance, or consciousness. And I think this is one of I should have put it second to last. But I think this is a really important one because usually with our phones, with everything that goes on in our lives, we kind of tend to just put focus onto one thing and ignore the other. So let's say if it's, friends or family or certain situations, knowingness or awareness, being conscious, I think it's important because once let's say you're going through a problem and you have to put all the factors into, in order to solve the problem, you have to see all sides of the coins, not just one or two, but seeing all factors. Presence is the fact of knowing something before it takes place, and foreknowledge. This ties in with knowingness or awareness, because once you're in a situation, once you see all aspects of something, you will be able to predict or know what comes next based on patterns or certain, situations. Empowerment, having control, having power and control over our own lives. Usually it's, empowerment from ourselves. I like, hey, let's say I personally, I would like to have a doctorate's degree. So having, that trust of myself and having that empowerment, I'm going to pursue that career. Or it could be empowerment, from an external, so like family or friends that support you from the side. And then all of these things, the number one thing we should all carry in our hearts, and this sounds a little cliche, but it's love, unconditional love. Treating each other, I usually like to categorize people on, when I meet them. First of all, if you're a stranger, it's a blank canvas. I'll let you build your character the more we speak. And then second is love and trust. From the second we meet, if we're strangers, from strangers, it jumps into friends, right? Because I trust you. I'm giving you that trust from the beginning, and I'm giving you that love from the beginning. So when we move forward, it will only be able to grow, right? And then with your actions, with time, it will tell, if it's a bad friend or someone that doesn't really align with our energies, we're like, okay, this is not working. We'll have to find some, move on forward. Or if it does end up working, then perfect, you can only grow from there. Again, back to that continuous growth. And then also talking about perspectives. Usually I like to see life. There's only two things, right? There's yesterday and today. Today, like I mentioned earlier, I am a sum of my history, whether it's ancestors of everything that I've been through. Today, this very moment, every knowledge that I'm speaking on to you guys, it is a sum of everything I've learned. So there's only today, right now, the present moment, and yesterday. The whole concept of a tomorrow, which is, right here, this tiny little, just a tiny little section in the corner, if you can see it. We generally just created that for stability, let's say, and it's a good thing, right? So we're able to say, oh, based on the patterns that we have now, in a month, in 2 years, 3, whatever time forward, that's what the function of tomorrows are. So we're able to say, in next week, I'll be doing this. In 3 weeks, I'll be doing that for stability. But in reality, there's only right now, what you're doing, what you can be doing right now, and then what you're learning from yesterday. And tomorrow is just hope. Something that I am a very strong advocate of is meditation. And there are many, 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 many forms of medication. Like listening to music, going outside and just sitting in silence. The usual standard would be, first is trying to calm your mind. If your mind starts wandering, recognize it and return to appreciating the sensations of your breath. So it's really a breathing technique. I'm trying to put something about it. Relaxing your shoulders and letting your hands rest on your thighs. Place one hand over your lap. And then you're sitting in a chair, keep your feet flat on the floor and your spine straight. If you're sitting cross-legged on the cushion, have your knees below your hips. Basically, how the little lady here is. And then some facts about meditating is that it's long-term meditators showed increased size in brain regions associated with emotional regulation, which may help cultivate positive emotions. What does that mean? The more you meditate, the more you're free of disturbance, the more that anything that's going on inside, any emotions, anything that's going on in your thoughts, you'll be faced with them. And what does that mean is that, if there's an issue that I've been kind of avoiding, it's going to be brought up. And this is a good time while you're meditating to think about it. Right? There's usually a portion of meditating where you don't want to think, where it's just you controlling your breath, but also a part of it is the thoughts that do come to your head. um, don't just dismiss them. Allow yourself to go through them. If you notice it's something irrelevant, like what you're going to eat, what you're doing tomorrow, then let it go and focus again on the present moment, and then eventually deeper thoughts will come forward. If you want the experience to be more body-based, so essentially you're focusing on your body, on your energy, on your breath, you could close your eyes. But then if you want to ground yourself with your environment, you could keep them open. So that's, anchoring yourself to your environment. And then meditation is not about length. I know there's usually some people, it can be intimidating because you hear some people, oh, I meditate for an hour, 2 hours, even more. And that could be intimidating, but just 5 minutes, if not five, three, of complete silence, of just you yourself breathing. That's all it takes. And with time, you could build that practice and then extend it. Maybe if you did 5 minutes, do 10 the next. And little by little, the more you do it, the more you grow comfortable with that silence. So eventually those 5 to 10 minutes could turn into half an hour, 30 minutes to a whole hour. And yeah, let's see, continuing. This is also usually, a theory within humans is that the brain is divided into two hemispheres. Usually the left controls numbers, language, analytical thinking, and then the right is usually, expression, emotional, intellect, or imagination, so like the creative side. And just looking at the world, usually the Western hemisphere, or America, tends to focus strictly on the left side of the brain. So working schedules, 9 to 5s, work, go to home, pursue that, work lifestyle. It can be very damaging because we're not accepting the wholeness of our entity. So then creating practices that allow yourself to connect to your right side of, the right hemisphere of your brain can be beneficial. One practice, like we mentioned earlier, is meditation. Another practice could be art, drawing, reading, whatever makes you feel creative and artistic should be a practice. And then this is talking on the issue that I mentioned earlier. So basically how humans interact with the environment, or how we just, our emotions, whenever we go through something. Usually if there's a painful or a negative event, the first thing we do is close up, So closing up is like, oh, something happened? No, it did not. The first denial, it did not happen. So suppress and avoid feeling emotions. The next step is, or usually what happens next, is not really steps, is anger. So because you haven't allowed yourself to fully, be in the moment or understand the experience, and because you closed yourself off to, that event, those emotions, they were never really expressed, so they're just bottled up and confused, which can be turned into anger. And then what happens next is because of all of that confusion and the angerness. Anything relating to the incidents will become uncomfortable, and it will in turn become what we call a soft spot. So let's say an example, if you go to the park and you want to, ride a swing, but then a kid bullies you, oh, then okay, I'm never ever coming to the park again. Like, mark that park off the maps. Um, so any other park, you will automatically assume that there's a bully on that swing, and it's gonna make you feel uncomfortable. Um, where it could, that could be further from the truth. What happens next is when interacting with soft spots, such as, you go to a next park, original negative feelings can quickly surface. So let's say with the park example, if you're on the way to the park and you see just a random group of kids, let's say different park, a random group of kids around the swing, you're gonna think back to your original event, and you're gonna try to, escape as quickly as you can, because you're gonna think, oh my God, those are bullies, or they're not gonna let me use the swing. Again, just an example. But usually a surge of negative emotions that come back, and you probably want to run away. And then that will lead to future triggers. So any similar events will become a trigger point of panic attacks. See how we just jumped from one thing to the other, um, where anything, and whether it's somebody talking about it, it was mentioned, or you just walk past the streets, is going to become a trigger to that soft spot, and it's going to become a panic attack. You're going to feel uneasy. What we should be doing is, when encountering a negative or painful event, is keeping an open mind, right? you know Allow yourselves to understand all of the current emotions. So this happened, why am I feeling this way? What specifically made me start feeling like this? So it's keep an open mind. Every experience and interaction we take will have a meaning. Whether it's, you guys here today, where you could use that information in the future, or myself in the past, where I've been through something, and as an outcome of understanding my emotions, I could then place about a boundary either on myself or on something else, where like, okay, I don't want this to happen again because it made me feel a certain way. So I'm gonna put this boundary here, so it doesn't happen. Like, continuing with the flow, what happens next after you keep that open mind is you allow yourself to understand your feelings and dive into them. Usually it can be very scary, because for the most part, it's a young group that I'm talking to. We're all still young here. So a lot of the emotions that we face, they can be new. And if they're new, you don't really know how to feel, you don't really understand what you're going through. So it's like you won't want to speak to anybody about it, because you yourself barely know what it is you're going through. In those cases, try to, roll out what's going on. Was it a specific event that happened? Was it something that somebody said that made me feel this way? Search for the cause of, the issue. And usually, in processing, there are usually two methods that can be described to solving an issue. And it's, think of, the needle and the haystack situation, where if you have a needle, it's thrown into a haystack. You can either, one, shrink yourself small enough so you diving through the hay, you're able to see the needle right away, or two, second option, you burn the whole haystack, and the only thing that will be left theoretically is the needle. What does this mean? Um, let's say with the first example of solving a situation is with everything that's going on around us, our circle, our friends, family. Let's say if it's something in specific that happened with friends. Oh, I'm gonna, minuscule myself and look with detail into the past. Let's say something that happened recently, into the past 3 days, if that's when I started feeling uneasy. Then within the past 3 days, what did I do? Where did I go? How did I behave? And what specifically started to, to cause myself to feel like this? Um, and the other example, burning the whole stack, and then finding the needle left, that could be an example of if it's work or issue with friends, where, oh, it's just becomes so much that you'll just have to remove yourself from the situation. Um, that will be burning the whole bay, the whole stack of hay. Continuing with the flow of process is number 3, the lesson, looking at the bigger picture and what you can take away from this. So after you go through something, as negative or unpleasant as it was, what can I learn? What if it was something with friends, something that a friend did? Oh, okay, I didn't like that, so I'm gonna put a boundary. I'm gonna talk to the person, hey, don't do this again. So now this action or this thing is gonna bother me. You move forward, that you just learned that, you could apply it to the future. Or if it's, another thing within yourself, oh, this happened, I did this and it made me feel this way, which I didn't like. So I'm just not going to do it again. Or I'm just, going to find other alternative situations if it's something that really needs to get done. Continuing is number 4 is adapting. So applying the knowledge we learned to the general experience of life. So again, taking that lesson and moving forward with it. Today I learned, as I stated earlier, today I am a sum of all of my yesterdays. So essentially applying that to tomorrow, whatever I go through today, tomorrow I can only improve from it. So if I went through something yesterday, I learned a lesson from it, I'll apply it to my tomorrow, and so on and so forth. And then the last one is 4 is usually the last one because you just go on from there. But just to mention that it will not create any future triggers. So if it was something in advance where, going back to number 1, where you kept your open mind, you understood what was going on, you understood yourself, your emotions, and you were able to build boundaries with yourself, but others as well. In the future, it's not going to be a trigger because you understand it, right? So, I'm not going to do this, or I talked to a person, so they're not going to do that. So it just won't happen again. And then that's pretty much about it of, what I've got. So I've usually some resources that are really great, your school counselor, if they're busy, which they should set out time for you, you manage the schedule. School counselors, building that support system for yourself, having those around you. BIOtech.org. I know many of us or many of you guys, if you're in high school, it's a program in high school, or if not, if you're in middle school, I think it's mainly a high school program, but the website is still free. So under BIOtech.org, they have amazing resources where you can check out whether it's therapy or anything that has to do with your mental health. It should be under there. The Lifeline chat and text. This is if you really ever need anyone to talk to about any issue. And I believe it's 988. I could write it down in the chat if you guys like. But 988 is the Lifeline chat and text. And then also, if you're in, obviously we're all under the state of Florida. So the Florida Department of Education, that's what that stands for, FDL, Florida Department of Education.org has a resiliency and mental health resources. So that's basically, you could check all the different, therapists out there and anything else that ties in with life. So you guys have any questions, comments? Want me to go back on any other slides, go over anything else?
Well, listen, Pedro, and I just want to thank you again for coming on. I mean, it's been such an honor. And we really appreciate your time and you just being here. this evening, and I also want to just, thank all the students for their time as well. I'm sure if anyone has any questions or any comments, but I myself just want to say that it was an awesome presentation. And I just see the chat. Haley Prieto says, amazing presentation, very informative.
Thank you.
Alyssa says, thank you for your presentation, very insightful. So you see the love coming through, and definitely amazing. And Luana says, very nice. So it's just, once again, everyone has kind of the same feeling. And just thank you for coming on. So if anyone has any questions, now would be the time to do so, or any comments, you're also free to send them in the chat as we're about to start wrapping up.
I'm gonna put my Instagram as well, the organization's Instagram, on the chat.
Please
It's
do.
you can search as AA_MHE. There we go. So it's all about mental health empowerment, cut short, AA_AM. Let me see.
Lucas says, wonderful presentation, amazing. Valeria says, so inspiring. Stephanie says, great presentation.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it. Let's see.
Alessandro says that it hit close to home, so he's very grateful for you to be able to talk about this. So just thank you. I'm gonna send once again the sign in the chat. Whether you're in high school or in middle school, you need to do that so that we could, make sure you get credit for being here accordingly.
And Sophia, this was great. I appreciate all of you guys. So yeah, the concluding, last message. Again, my Instagram is AA_MHE. So AA_MHE. And then just, if anything, for you guys to carry on with life, it's remember back to that, when anything happens in your life, it's for a reason. So just keep an open mind, and hopefully there's a lesson at the end of whatever it may be.
Thank you so much. I completely agree, Pedro. And I wish all of you guys are great. Now I'm going to send also in the chat real quick a link for you guys to subscribe to the Virtutum Populo newsletter. If you have not already, please fill that out too. So there's two things for you to fill out. The sign-in sheet, which is the Google form, which I'm going to send one more time. And then right after that, I just sent the link.
Somebody had a question. It was, so when you say that keeping track of what you eat and exercise helps you, this doesn't count for people with eating disorders, correct? It actually does. Again, going back to, we're all complex. So what does that mean? We, let's say something I didn't mention was the nature versus nurture. If you guys don't know what that is, there was the theory of like, if who I am today, is it because of my nature, my genetics, my genes, or my nurture, which is my environment? Actually, it's both. You are who you are today because of your genes, those things, what makes you, whether your genetic disorders, anything, your hair, and your external environment. So that leads to, if you are somebody that has, any disorder that cannot be, quote unquote, fixed, you can only grow with it. You have to understand, again, that what it is, the pattern for it, or, the balance of it all. While I may have this, you will still need, to take care of yourself. So it cannot be, it won't be the same as everybody else as the standard, but you will still need to take care of yourself, whether it's, through certain type of diets, a balanced diet, exercise. If you cannot exercise, your overall body, mental exercises are also a thing. It's not just about, your body. Let me see any last questions. It's very, see, that should be it for questions. Oh, 1 second. I will put also my email down here. So somebody asking for my email. 1 second. 1 second. It was aa.mental My email is aa.mentalhealthempowerment. But I send it right now at gmail.com. And then when it comes to exercising or just in general, oh, another question. How do you balance keeping up with good grades, taking taking care of yourself, taking care of yourself? It feels like taking care of yourself is a job within itself. And yes, that's the reality. It is a job. You know, just like work and other outside jobs, it's something that you have to continue to do, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to be like a negative thing, right? How usually, oh my God, it's a job I have to do, so negative. Turn it into something that you like. So if it's taking care of yourself, for everybody, it's going to be different things. But one thing could be, you know, your personal appearance. If it's, you know, every night some lotion or building your own personal skin routine. If it's, you know, let's say dieting or building a balance with your food. I know it can be, you know, oh my God, eating healthy, what is that? But if, you know, we all know TikTok or the internet, look up something, oh, some, you know, healthy, good food or in, what's it called? Ingredients. So, and see something that you like, try it out. If not, then continue, you know, forward. For everybody, will have different things, you know, that helps them. It's not usually just one thing for everybody that works. Is you have to understand who you are. And again, that does take time. It's all a process. It's not an overnight thing. But once you're able to get a feeling of, you know, who you are, like what you don't like, then you'll be able to move forward and be like, okay, you know, I do like, let's say you need exercise, but you don't really like running. Then okay, if not running, maybe a bicycle or lifting weights. Or if that's too much, I'm pretty sure there's, you know, a sport that you like, swimming, dancing. Dancing, it's technically, you know, it's a sport. You sweat and you move a lot. So it doesn't have to be all, you know, like something that you find boring. If you find it boring, and it's not gonna help you, you know, it's like you're gonna, over time, you're gonna feel like, oh my God, why am I doing this? Which is gonna lead to, you know, wanting to give up. So make sure you add your own like razzle dazzle to it. So it could be good for you. And then
Perfect, Pedro.
yeah,
Well, thank
a
you
little bit
again.
over time.
Oh, it's been such an honor. I think we're about to wrap up because that hits our time mark, but I really appreciate you coming on, Pedro, and everybody else for joining. And once again, the sign-in link and the link to subscribe are in the chat, as well as his email and his Instagram. So make sure you follow Pedro as well. And thank you again, Pedro. I just really appreciate it.
Of course, and I just realized I didn't put it for everybody, so I'm going to put it again. My email is
Perfect.
aa.mental health empowerment.
Thank you so much, Pedro. So if you guys want to reach out to him, let's see. I believe he's just about to send it. And there it is.
Yeah.
Well, Pedro, thank you again. I appreciate it. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye, guys.